In our last episode, we talked to my friend Pauline Jean about loving and living and having faith through a pandemic. If you haven't had a chance to listen, I encourage you to do so, but not before we get into this episode with my friend Antonio Myers. Welcome to Diversity Dish, where we're dishing on everything diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice related. My name is Sedruola Maruska, and we're bridging the gap between what needs to be said and what needs to be heard. Those individual experiences that are often ignored or simply dismissed. Sometimes I'm dining alone, sometimes I'm dining with friends, and sometimes I'm dining a la carte. No matter how I'm dining, it promises to be delicious. Let's dig in. For Antonio Myers, life with autism has always felt like sitting in a movie theater. Everyone is watching the same film, says Myers, a 25-year-old DC resident on the high-functioning end of the autism spectrum. But he's the only one wearing 3D glasses. I'm able to see more behind the scenes, which enables me to understand more of what's in front of me, says Myers. It makes me able to see people as human before anything else, which makes him very good at compassionate grieving or just bearing with people. He's a high school valedictorian, a college graduate, an international traveler, and a designated disability services provider by the DC Department on Disability Services and a commencement speaker. Hello, Antonio. Thank you so much for making time to be here with me today.
You are quite welcome, Sadie.
Sadie, yes.
Yay, got the first try.
Awesome. I'm I'm really excited to have you because I think that you're going to bring a lot of good information to my audience. But before we get into all of that, I really would like to know, what is it that you're passionate about right now?
Let's see, I'm passionate about people's rights. Because
People's
if your rights are secure, that means your humanity is secured.
Yes. Wow. I think you're right. I think that one of the things that we often miss is humans' humanity, and not everybody is treated with humanity, and
Yeah.
that's so important, so important. So, what is your favorite thing about right now, like in this moment or in today? What is your favorite thing?
I'm learning that America and the rest of the world is going through a fermentation process. You know how before you become wine, the grapes have to be crushed.
Mhm.
So we're being aged, aging of the wine and being bottled up, and the laboratory tests you go through to see if the grape becomes wine. I use that metaphor as what's happening in our world. We're we're being refined and purified as a planet.
Mhm.
The us versus them. We're being purged out because
Mhm.
you see a lot of that in politics. You see a lot of that on how people view religion and how people view each other, like personality and temperament wise, multicultural diversity. So I
Mhm.
think I see this virus as a way of cleansing the
Mm.
impurities from our hearts and from our lives.
Wow. Okay. I think I have to agree with you. I have to, when you put it that way and you kind of look around and see what's going on, there is a lot of a squeezing, basically, a lot of purging, a lot of removing of the debris happening. Hopefully that can continue to happen because we need it to happen.
Yeah,
Once we're able to purge some of these things, we can see clearer and we can get a better vintage of wine, right?
right. Positive extraction is similar to the olive oil process to become an olive.
Yes. Yes. That works. um, okay, so Antonio, you are what you've said to me, or you've written out that you are a high functioning autistic Black male,
Yes,
correct?
ma'am. Or
Okay.
is ma'am are you okay with that? Because some people,
Whatever makes you comfortable is fine. I'm not,
okay.
I will. Yes. So, as a high functioning autistic person, I would like to hear your perspective because I think that we don't often understand autism, first of all. We don't understand autism. And once we hear that someone is autistic, we automatically can write them off as someone that can't really do right.
Yeah,
And that is, I think that's very unfair
right.
because when we get back to humanity, we need to see each person's value in humanity. And I believe that everyone has value. So, as a high functioning autistic person, can you tell the audience what that is like and what it means for you?
Well, I know that when people say high functioning, they think that, oh, you can do what everybody else can do. Who they think is functioning without autism, such as get married, have a job, live on your own, pay for your own items and budgeting. Autism to me is a gift. It's not a disability. It's a blessing and not a curse because of how my brain is wired. I always think outside the box. I've been
Mm-hmm.
that way since my boyhood, to be frank.
Mm-hmm.
And autism, some people think it's impaired social communication or self-stimulatory. That's where the word stimulatory. We all do it. I don't know why it's just for people with autism. Like
Right.
hand flapping. Who hasn't done this? Especially when you're a baby. You've had babies without autism who do this. Or, Big Mama rocking a chair. Imagine me, imaginary rocking chair. That's stimming.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do,
Mm-hmm.
that means movement. It could be dancing. It could be walking back and forth when you're in deep thought, especially when you're
Mm-hmm.
fresh. Like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? Everybody stims, and some
Mm-hmm.
people think, well, if you're autistic, somehow your IQ is impaired too. No, we're sharp, bright human beings.
Right.
We're just more comfortable being extraordinary than other people because
Oh,
of
I like that. We're more comfortable being extraordinary. I love that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
oh, and autism for me, it's all about having a better time not being judgmental too, because
Hmm.
we are healthy, quirky. So if
Hmm.
you're considered different, I like to say the word diverse.
Hmm.
It makes difference good. Then yeah, we don't judge. Just be a decent individual, and that's it. We're not
Hmm.
going to speculate on, but you're gay, but you're secular, but you're this skin color. Just have
Hmm.
a humane heart, and we'll call it a day.
Right, right. We ought to all be that way, I think, It
Right.
really ought to be that way. Yeah. So you were your high school valedictorian, right? That's awesome. And you are also a college graduate. What did you study in college?
I majored in human services and I minored in psychology.
Nice, nice.
I like people and I want to help people think well.
I like that. I love it. You're also an international traveler. Where have you been?
I saw the Queen's cherry in London, England, passed me by, not too far from Buckingham Palace and the Big Ben clock,
Nice.
and I
Okay.
saw Pope Francis speaking Italian,
Wow.
and he's
Okay.
shorter and younger in person.
Is he really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. And now you have a position. What is your position?
Oh, I help the Brewer Foundation for my dad's. Just learning more about disability advocacy and finding out ways to branch out. It's still in the works.
Okay. Okay. Well,
Oh,
that's
I'd like to explain more about high functioning autism. In a sense, one of the downsides, not the autism, but how you're treated, if you're
mm-hmm.
high functioning, you're considered like you're normal, but then they think you're not.
Mm-hmm.
Like you get passed over for opportunities that they'll say, well, to us, disability means you have to be in a wheelchair or hearing aid or seeing eye dog. So
Mm-hmm.
they're the people that are, well, they're mandatory for housing all and all the other human rights things we were discussing earlier. But if you are high function, they don't know what to do with you. And it's
Mm-hmm.
okay for people who are considered low function to have what they need. Good. But they we get skipped over.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be honest, that sucks.
I'll, I'm sure it does. I can imagine. I can see where that would come from because people would say, they're fine, but they're not what we would expect to be quote unquote
Experience.
fine. Exactly. Right. And so that discrimination would definitely fall upon your head, besides the fact that you are also a black male. So
Ooh,
you have several things stacked on top of you that you have to overcome in order to be
yeah,
able to be free to be extraordinary, right?
right. Thank you
Right.
for plugging it
Yes,
in.
absolutely. So I know that we were talking a little bit about that, a little bit about this earlier. You kind of mentioned the correlation between abuse and autism. And so I would like for you to expound on that for the audience so that they can understand how these things correlate.
I was a victim of rape,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the reasons the demons told me that was because of they called me one of those special R's. I don't want to say the R word, yeah, but
Oh,
that's why they did what they did.
mm-hmm.
And so when you're labeled disabled, you have a higher chance of experiencing any kind of abuse because I was also physically abused as
Mm-hmm.
well. And so there's a defenselessness trauma complex that you're taught because of um, how they evilly perceive um, my community.
Yeah. So they perceive you as not being as valuable or as not being able to defend yourself as well. Like no one's going to believe you, right?
Yeah,
If something happens, no one's going to believe you because you have this disability, or rather this other ability, right? So it's more likely that you will be victim to someone who is opportunistic, I would think, someone who's not so great people. They're not so great people out there. And
yeah,
so I'm sure you didn't realize it at the time because you were a child, but you've grown to understand how it works. And so you are now an advocate, right? More so for people with disabilities.
yes. Um, And I encourage people to attend therapy. I've been in therapy. I was in therapy for years because
Mm-hmm.
of what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in, because I don't mind sharing this because there's nothing about my life that I'm ashamed of.
Mm-hmm.
That's why no one can shame me because I don't shame me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was in a psychiatric institution for an entire weekend
Mm-hmm.
because of the pain just built up, and
Mm-hmm.
it was an accident that landed in a psych ward, and I was able to get more help. I was
Mm-hmm.
amazed that they said you don't need medication. I'm like, I don't, but I'm here. But they
Mm-hmm.
gave me they said, oh, you're fine. And they said because you were using laughter and happiness to deal with the pain when you were a kid, that saved you from needing medication. And medication is good. No diss to medication. If you need it, you take it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I never took meds for anything.
Right, because you use different coping mechanisms. You use different ways to kind of expel the pain and kind of get it out there.
Right,
So they didn't feel like they needed to give you any medication.
right.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm pretty sure people wondering how do I cope now? Well, I make more time for happy than sad, laughter than non-goofy, serious time. I write, I write, I podcast, I make more positive opportunities for myself to utilize more of my gifts and talents, and I keep in touch with friends. That helps. I show more of my sadness and well, it's concerning because people care, but it's not alarming.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep myself in physical good shape. You know, I move around, I dance, listen to music, do all my fun hobbies. So that keeps me from having the victim complex. Even though I recognize I was one, I'm a thriver. I'm not a survivor anymore.
Right. Oh, good for you. Well, tell us a little bit about your podcast. I know it's called Tonio Time Daily, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it all started. People have encouraged me to do podcasts for years, especially between 2016 and through 2020. That's when they were the most encouraging. What I remember, I was actually scared to do it. I was
Really?
scared. Yes, I was scared to do it because in my mind, speaking my real thoughts to strangers who want to hear what I got to say. Um, I'm a brown complexion, and brown people are treated horribly. The way my brain's wired, people are gonna make fun of me, and I went through all this pain. Who wanna? I had one of those I'm too this or not enough that inexperienced kind of feeling. And
Mm-hmm.
then my barber was the main one who said, "There's so many people who want to be blessed by you,"
Mm.
and that just changed my entire perspective. So I went from feeling like I'm supposed to be a private person to I'm not. I'm a public person. So ta-da!
That's awesome. Yes, I don't feel that you're a private person. I feel that you are a people person. I feel that you enjoy
Yeah.
people. I feel that you enjoy, connecting with people. And I think that that's a really good thing. So I love that you have a podcast. What are some of the things that you talk about on your podcast?
Woo! I let's see. Politics, sex,
Mm-hmm.
social justice issues. Sometimes I'm just comical. Uh, narratives, stories, autobiography, biography, everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything.
Yeah, it's kind of an outlet for you. It's kind of a place where you just You can just be Antonio, right?
Yes.
Love it.
Oh,
Love it.
oh, and you can say Tony. I meant to tell you that earlier.
Oh, Tony. Thank you,
Pe-
Tonio. I love
People
it.
that are close to me, you know.
Yes. Oh, thank you. And you say that you write also. What kinds of things do you write?
I write my deepest thoughts. I'm actually writing a book of it's like it's a literary device that is it's a book series that highlights this helpful activity for healing and grief. And writing conversations between myself and a mother figure of mine who has transitioned to a better place, but I still use my imagination to continue the interactions because it's as if the person is still in the flesh. And that's my biggest source of therapy right now. So I've been doing it for a month now.
Yeah. Wow. I like that. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're doing so many things. And I see that you also said that you have done some commencement speaking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Let's see, 7 years after I graduated, 2001, this is 2008, I visited my school Impact. It's now permanently closed, sadly, Montgomery Primary Achievement Center. So I was
Right.
just being me, my effervescent bubbliness,
Yes.
and just communicating with them. You know, people that remember me 7 years ago, like, oh, we can do this and that. And they made me the commencement speaker on the spot.
Wow. Just on the spot.
Yeah,
See, that's why I say you're not meant to be, a private person. You're meant to be out there.
yeah. When I get excited, I'm super goofy.
That's that's not a bad thing, okay? That's a
And
wonderful thing.
I was 14.
You were 14. Wow. Incredible. So you have a quote here that you sent to me. It says, I am able to see more behind the scenes, which enables me to understand more of what's in front of me. And I think
Yes,
that's so interesting. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
that was from one of my Washington Post articles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that means that when people they have this insular and insulated way of looking at things, they'll see this amount, but if I
Mm-hmm.
look at it through the lens of wholeness, I go, there's more that you can learn from this. They're like, but
Mm-hmm.
this, I'm like, no, think deeper. They go, oh, I get
Mm-hmm.
it now. That's me.
Right.
I wear 3D glasses on without wearing them. That's how my brain works.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow, that's so interesting. So it says, it makes me be able to see people as human before anything else.
Yes. Because you see them as human, you will respect them, which also means you won't disrespect them. The flip sides are good.
Right, 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 right. Because you're able to see more than they say. We as humans, we all wear these masks, right?
Right. And yeah, because when you think of the COVID mask, that's a metaphor for what we've been doing before COVID is
Yeah.
pretending and it's like people are trying out for the Oscars all the time.
That's a fun analogy, right? Everybody's preparing for their acceptance speech. I want to take I want to thank the Academy. Right. So they're all so yeah, most of us are actually I think that's true. Most of us are actually, there are a lot of things that we don't want to put out there, because like you said before, you said you were afraid to do the podcast because you thought, who wants to hear what I have to say? People are going to tease me. People are going to make,
Yeah.
they're not gonna take me seriously. But we don't really know that, do we, until we actually put ourselves out there.
Yeah, you gotta leap.
You
More
got to
than just
take
more than just jump. You gotta leap.
you got to take the leap. You got to jump up and go, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think that more of us need to stop listening to the scary voice and start listening to the, well, what would happen, what could happen, what are the possibilities, how could this be great, versus
Mm-hmm.
oh my god, this could be so bad, right?
Right, right. That negative self-talk is one of the enemies of wholeness.
Like enemies of wholeness, that's right. Oh, I love that.
Thank
I,
you.
I love that. You just dropping a lot of
Gems.
gems right now.
And no script either.
No script, just dropping gems. I love it.
And at some point, I'm gonna ask what it's like to be a black male because I know people want to know that down the line.
Please go ahead.
Um, I remember the talk that my family would have about don't put yourself in a position where the police can have a problem with you. Be super compliant. And I was always that, but how I got to the psych ward was I ended up in a squad car. So I felt like, oh man, I let down my ancestors, I let down my community. Then I had to stop looking at them and say, hey, you couldn't help the atrocities that happened to you. You know, you were made to do things at an age where you shouldn't have had to. So I had to stop seeing myself as this terrible black male into I came from a dysfunctional family setting.
Mm-hmm.
So can you really expect a person to know everything about how to overcome when I was what 5?
Right.
So I had to be fair to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
we always have to embrace our inner child, the child that, and and kind of say it's okay, you couldn't know better or
yeah,
differently, right?
yes, and when I was in an environment in college, I felt this need to really be the great black male because I was in Leesburg, Florida. I consider that part of the Bible Belt because of their ways of thinking. So I
Yeah.
said, okay, I'm around conservative Christians who are white,
Mm-hmm.
so I gotta act right. Come from
Mm-hmm.
a black family where success is everything, so I gotta do that. And I really gotta be a great black male because of the child abuse.
Mm.
And if I'm autistic, I really need to have decorum and courteousness and generosity. So if I act up, oh my, what if
Mm-hmm.
Fox News badgers me?
Oh my goodness. Right. Oh yes. Yeah, yeah, the pressures, the different things that you have to put on yourself to
Yeah,
say, I need to be this for this group of people. I need to be this for this other group. I need to be this. And I need to do all these things so that I can be seen as human
yeah,
and as worthy of help or love or whatever, friendship, whatever it is, right?
right. And I felt that pressure even with women. You really got to be chivalry. You really got to be a gentlemanliness. You have all these disadvantages. Don't get me wrong. I'm a naturally positive person, so I do think for the positive reasons. I'm not a materialistic person, but those pressures can't be ignored. It's like, well, you really gotta be respectful to women, especially because you have all these minuses. You don't want them to think that you're just like these other guys out here. You know what? To be the guy
Right.
they complain about to all their other girlfriends. Hey, Antonio, such and such, da 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 da. I'm like, ah.
Right, right. Yeah. so much pressure. And so these pressures are the things that have kind of um, probably helped you be a better writer, maybe, because then you can kind of get it
Yeah,
out and kind of
yeah.
process it, right?
I like
Also,
I like your
yeah.
insight because that's the first time I. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm excited.
No, that's okay. That's good. And also, putting your podcasts out there. I think that a lot of that, I think a lot of that is really therapy for us all.
Yes.
If I'm honest with myself, I think that this podcast is therapeutic for me because it allows me to speak to other people and to know that number one, I'm not alone when I understand something, and I'm not losing my mind. I'm not
Mm-mm.
making things up.
No.
And it also makes me feel that, oh, we're vibing on this. We're giving people information that they need. So we're
Yes.
creating a difference in the world, So
Yeah.
it's therapy for me. So,
Yeah. And my barber's first one to tell me, yeah, it's healing for you. And I said, oh, healing, therapy, connect the dots, right, merging. And
yes.
And on my podcast, it's an uncensored podcast, like we chat and email. 'Cause I've been through a lot of edgy experiences, but
Yeah.
autism, it it helps you to be edgy. It's a big reason for my edginess. I tend to not be family friendly because of life experiences, how I my sightfulness towards the world. So I don't always keep it clean. My language is not always polished. I'm a person.
You are who you are.
Right.
So, is there an incident or an instance that you would like to share with us that people would consider if you told them, if you just told them, they'd be like, nah, that doesn't happen or that can't happen. People don't do that kind of thing. But it actually did happen, and how you came through it.
I remember you know, being being a being a child and I would, tell people there are times where I get sad
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't believe it because of how I come off to you now. They go, "What? How?" And I go, "Yeah, I get sad." And they're like, "But I don't see it." I said, "Well, because you don't trigger me." And
Mm,
even as an adult, sometimes people would say, "I can't imagine you sad or mad because you're one of the most you are the most high functioning person I know." And speaking of functioning, sometimes it can be insulting who's functioning, who's not, high, low. That's why I'm very careful about how I talk about it so I
mm,
don't make people feel like you're subhuman, you're human. You know what
mm-hmm.
I mean? But okay, another incident would be I'll talk about my labels and you're gonna be shocked, and it's okay because I'm still in shock and I'm 27. You have a speech and language impairment. The way you speak too slowly. You're not open to strangers. I think that you have this disorder, this malfunction to some degree. You have all these learning disabilities, and you're a lifeless vegetable. I don't think you're gonna really mount anything. Your chances of success are quite low, and there's not much we
Wow.
can do with you. And you're too reserved. You're not open to strangers. Even though my parents said don't talk to strangers, they still put that against me. Like, well,
Really?
we'll hope for you, but yeah,
And they would say this to you, like as a child growing up, you would hear these things directed at you.
from the experts, you're supposed to be
Yes.
sensitized to children.
Wow.
And they said to my parents, like, oh, but I won oratorical contest and I speak quite amazingly, you understand me right with a
I
whole
understand what you're saying. I fully understand what you're saying. Yeah.
And that's one oratorical contest. So where's the impairment? I don't understand that.
Right, right. It's really interesting how people who are, quote unquote, like you said, professionals can cause more harm sometimes
Yes.
than they even realize. And a lot of that comes from their biases as well, right? They've
Yes.
read something, and so that what they've read, they want to now put on someone and say, "Oh, well, I know this, and this is what's going to happen, or this is how you are," without taking into consideration that
Hmm.
you're human, and it was written for that was probably written for different humans. And
Yes.
so they have to take you as an individual and not a case or a number or.
Right.
So that, wow. I
And
mean, to hear those things being said to a child, that would just break my heart. I would just flip out and be like, no, we can't say that.
right.
I mean, I didn't even, when my kids were growing up, when my son would be growing up and he would fall, I would never say to him, "You are hurt. You should, you are hurt. Let me." I would say to him, I would say,
Wow.
are you okay?" And
Right.
wait for him to tell me how
Hmm.
he was feeling. And he said,
Mm.
"No, I'm not okay." Okay, what hurts or what are you feeling?
Yes.
Versus putting on him something that wasn't there. And
Right.
most of the time he'd be up, get up, I'm okay, and keep going.
Right.
So I can't imagine people saying to my son, "Oh, you're not smart. You're not. You speak funny. You're gonna not gonna amount to much. We'll see what these are some things that you're telling someone, right?
Right.
So sad.
And another shocking thing. Well, you have this calculator, thick word calculators they can understand. They like you have this math deficit, but I was always the highest math performing student in all my classes, and I always passed them well.
Right.
I'm glad I don't.
Well, I'm so glad you didn't believe what they were telling you. You didn't
Right,
buy what they were selling.
right. And,
you
and
know?
they made it seem like, well, you're always disorganized. No, I'm clean. I'm a
Yeah.
neat freak. So,
Right.
and then they had this whole, well, you have this anxiety. Yeah, you're just quite anxious. And I go, because you keep boot stopping me. If you stop boot stopping me, I won't be anxious.
Right.
And well, you have issues communicating with people.
Hmm.
I'll just let that one sink in.
Right. Right. Right.
Clearly, I don't. I'm screaming.
It's okay. It's okay. It's so interesting. Yeah. It's just I don't know, what is, the thought. So you fitting you into a box is all I can think of. You
Yes,
know,
it's a
we
claustrophobic, suffocating box.
yes, we want to put you in this box and you don't fit in the box. And
No.
but they want to make you fit into the box.
Yeah, like stuff me with a cram you into our ignorance. Breathe. We don't want you to do that. Stop trying to live and not to really exist. That makes us angry.
Right, right. Oh my goodness. Yes. So how do you think, well, I think maybe we talked about it a little bit, but how do you think that you kind of just didn't buy into that and simply was Tonio?
I had a loving grandma. Still have one in spirit, even though she's up there. I
Mm-hmm.
have a loving family, loving friends, and positive people like yourself.
Mm.
Oh, we're friends, right? I like to.
We are friends. I will call us friends, Tonio.
Okay, thanks, Sadie. The fact that we're nicknamed.
Absolutely. Right. So you have a good support system that allows you to be who you are without
Yeah,
judging you, the way that you don't judge others, but without judging you in any way.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
It's a beautiful thing.
I remember I used to have suicidal thoughts when I was a child, but there were so many loving people who, because they would give up on me, that's one of the reasons why I'm living and not just alive. And I
Yes.
haven't had any suicidal thoughts in 20 years.
Nice. Nice. Well, the world would be missing a very beautiful human if you had any and decided to act on them.
Yeah,
It's
and I'm free of any suicidal ideation, so no one has to worry about me. I'm good. But
Yeah.
that's why I'm so sensitized to people with suicide thoughts because I know what that's like. So no,
Right.
so I don't judge harshly.
Right. Right. Wow. All right. Well, Tonio, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you would like to talk about? Anything more that you would like to talk about right now?
The relationship between autism and sexuality.
And sexuality?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So a lot of people think if you're labeled disabled, then somehow you're devoid of sexual beingness, which is
Right.
untrue because I'm labeled, but people are sexy. And I want to be sexy with sexy people, like non autistic people.
Right. Right.
And we have crushes and go, you know how like some women will go, oh, Brad Pitt is hot. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll look at Kerry Washington. You know what I
Right.
mean? We have
Right.
celebrity
Right.
crushes.
Right. Right. Right.
And so, oh, and what makes it sensitive is we're sensitive to positions and movements and sounds and textures and how we're being touched and caressed and, you know, hand placements and
Yeah.
penetration, non-penetration, just like, well, everyone should be sensitive to those things.
Right.
What's the point of sex if there's discomfort? That's awful. Who wants
Right.
to have an awful time doing something pleasurable?
Right.
Mutually pleasurable. So yes,
Right.
I'm a sexual being. But
Right.
I was taught the search model. Consent, equality, trust. No, consent, equality, um, respect, trust, and safety. Yes, you gotta have all five. That's what makes a sensitive lover. And as autistic people are really into being sensitive lovers because we're naturally sensitive people,
Yeah.
and people are desensitized and sensitive to us.
Right.
And so people don't know that a label and being human do have an interrelation, interrelated.
Yes. Yeah.
And I don't believe in prude shaming, kink shaming, slut shaming, sex shaming. I don't do any of that. But I'm extremely comfortable with nudity and sexuality. So if you were to mention any of those things to me, I can hold the conversation just fine.
Right. Right. Yeah. Because you are human.
Yes, and proud of it.
You are human. Yes. I, it would never occur to me that you would need to even say that, right? It would
Right.
never occur to me that you would need to say and speak that, yes, I am autistic. I recognize that, but I'm also a human, a sexual being who, I like sex. I like being
Yes.
touched nicely. I
Yes.
love looking at beautiful women or men or whoever, right? I'm
Yeah.
right. It's
Woo!
yeah, I would have never thought of that. So thank you for bringing that to light, because I think it's important for people to understand that people are all more than the labels that are put on them. They're
Mm-hmm.
more than a diagnosis. They're more than what other people want to perceive them as because of whatever reason. We're all more than that. We're all human. And if you have a human need, if you're hungry, then that other human might be hungry too. If you're sexual, that other human might be sexual too. If you're tired, that other human might be tired too. It's, we don't correlate those things because we get stuck at
Mm-hmm.
the surface or at the beginning of the conversation.
Right. That's why I believe in sex positivity. I'm
Yeah,
definitely pro sex, and I don't judge people's sexual decisions or sexual more senses of morality.
right,
I don't care. Do no harm. I'm good.
right, right. Yeah. And you also know what it's like to be abused sexually. So you also understand that,
Yeah.
how, the pain that can cause.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very into like making sound decisions even. So yeah, I make sound sexual decisions like, okay, here are things that people need to hear. Don't sleep with a jerk. Yes, that needs to be told.
It
And
needs to be said.
don't sleep with a person who keeps showing unintelligent. Don't
Right.
know. They gotta be smart. And just always sleep with positive people. Just yeah.
Yeah,
Make sex positive. They're
right.
yeah. People of integrity. Let's go that route.
Let's go that route, right? People that aren't going to
Right.
treat you badly.
Yes. No
Yes,
toxicity, no evilness. We're cool.
we're good. I love it. Absolutely. Still dropping gems. Still dropping
That's
gems,
right.
Tonya.
Yes. Spoken word.
Oh my goodness. Well, one of the last questions that I love to ask everybody that comes on the show is, what is your favorite dish?
Oh man. Buffet, soul food, steaks, chicken,
Oh,
sometimes
you like
Chinese
food.
food. Yeah. And as you can tell, I'm slim
You are. You are.
because I keep myself up. I've learned to see myself as sexy for the
Oh,
very first time.
good for you. I think we should all see ourselves as sexy, no matter, what. No matter what the world wants to tell us.
Yes, be your own standard of beauty.
Yes, that's right. Be your own standard of beauty. Absolutely. So you like
Yeah.
all kinds of food, huh? I love it. My son
Yeah.
is a foodie. He loves all kinds of food too.
Yes. The pandemic is over. I suggest we meet up.
We should meet up. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Definitely. DC is a great town. My sister went to Georgetown.
Oh,
So I went there a few times.
my family went to Howard University.
Nice, nice. So where did you go to college?
Beacon College is the nation's only premier institute for students with learning differences.
Okay.
So I go to Universal Studios.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that's where I
Wow.
started blossoming. Oh, I have more techniques. My mind keeps firing away. Uh, I did all the life skills groups that are led by the counseling center. I went to counseling 2 to 3 times a week in college for 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I was a part of assertiveness club, um, boundaries club, social
Mm-hmm.
skills club, conflict resolution club,
Mm-hmm.
healthy manhood club, active minds and mental health advocacy club, and I was doing counseling workshops with them. So a lot of the skills are evident because of, well, they're innately me, but they were broadened and expanded because I went to the counseling center. And they
Right,
said I
right.
was the best they ever had.
That's awesome. I'll believe it. I believe it. Nice. Thank you so much for being here. It has been such a pleasure, Tonio, talking to you and getting to know you and about you. And I really appreciate your candor, your openness, and your vulnerability about, being an autistic person, but showing your humanity and letting people see that you are simply human.
Yes, yes. And I do slow, surely, and steadily. That's how I live my life. I'm into naturality and graduality.
Hey, did you enjoy that episode? If so, please be sure to subscribe, download, rate, review, and share. It would also mean the world to me if you became a patron over at Patreon. The information is in the show notes. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.